Hello, this is David and welcome to the Top 10 Strangest RPGs 1996 to 1998 edition. Here we have what I consider to be the golden years of the JRPGs. The SNES's powers at its peak. The games produced are gorgeous, but the newly released PS1 is nipping at its heels, scrambling to produce RPGs to compete with the SNES and assert its dominance. And dominate it did with the release of Final Fantasy VII in 1997 and Nintendo pretty much abandoning JRPGs on the N64. Previously, we looked at a 10-year time span because JRPGs were pretty rare, and also because they were pretty by the book. Now we've narrowed down the time span to just 2 years to accommodate the floodgates opening and the golden years of JRPG goodness. So, just like last time, we're going to look at these oddball games in release order. Number 10, Tenge Macchio Zero. Released on December 22nd of 1995, this was right at the tail end of the year, and I'm picking up right where I left off on the previous list. So yeah, we're going to be dipping a tiny bit into 1995 here, but just by a few days, so cut me a break. Each game in this series is based upon a novel, kinda like how the Ys games are based upon Adol's diaries. This looks like a traditional RPG when you first start it up, but you'll soon realize that it has strange quirks of its own. Not only is it humorous, but it has a time system where certain festivals are held only during certain days of the week, or even only a few days per year, and those are real-time days. For instance, the Christmas festival only occurs between December 23rd and the 25th. If you don't log on the game during those days, you'll miss it until next year. The game's divided up into 6 kingdoms, each with their own world map, towns, hidden secrets, and dungeons. A nice thing about this is that once you reach a new kingdom, you can fully explore it and go to all the towns available right at the start. It's almost open world in that respect. Number 9, Madame Monogatari, Big Kindergarten Kids. Yeah, here's a strange one. You play as the lead of the Puyo Puyo games, Arl, who's in kindergarten and has to collect 8 crystals in order to grant a wish, being that she passes kindergarten. This game is just too cute. There's no numbers to track or stats of any kind, no weapons or armor, and no hit points. Instead, you visualize Arl's well-being based upon the expression on her face, and experience is tracked by an arrangement of gems on the lower half of the screen. As a magician, Arl can't attack, and being that she's in kindergarten, she can only cast the most basic of spells, and again, there's no MP indicator. The whole game is cutesy and lighthearted, as if the entire world is part of Arl's playground. And don't worry, even though this wasn't released in the West, there is a translation patch out there for it. Number 8, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. We take Mario RPG games for granted nowadays, but back then, this kind of genre crossover was revolutionary, and the 2 spin-off series that this game spawned really do play nothing like the original. The platforming sections were unheard of in RPGs at the time, and before this game there was no such thing as timed attacks. Nowadays we see this pretty often, but they were invented here. I can't overstate just how groundbreaking the original this game was at the time. Pretty much the best RPGs that we really had were the 3 Final Fantasy games, the 4 Dragon Warriors, Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, and Lufia 2. This takes those games and turns them on their heads. Also, it didn't stick to the traditional Mario tropes. Bowser isn't the villain, he's actually your ally and joins you on your journey to collect the 7 stars, traveling from the Mushroom Kingdom on to places completely unrelated to the Mario universe. You'll be composing songs with tadpoles, bringing dolls to life, defeating Axum Rangers, and climbing one of the coolest towers ever devised. Number 7, Treasure of the Rudras. This game runs on a pretty cool concept, the Wheel of Time, where every 4,000 years the world is destroyed and recreated by Rudra, modeled after Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction. Our 3 heroes are living in the final 15 days before the end of the current cycle and the destruction of humanity. Remember Wild Arms and its great scenario system? Well, it's back, but instead of the scenarios lasting only through the beginning of the game, here it's almost like playing 3 different games because you'll be playing your 3 different heroes separately for the vast majority of the game. You can pick up and leave their stories at any time, and their adventures will intertwine depending on how far you've progressed on their journey. All this would probably be enough for it to gain a spot as a strange RPG, but there's more. The innovative magic system, which I've never seen done before or since. Essentially, you learn magic or mantras from books, notes, chests, town folks, or even enemies. When you learn a mantra, you literally type the word into your grimoire, and then everyone has access to the spell. Eventually, you'll be able to add prefixes and suffixes to your mantras, making them even more powerful. And if the enemy uses a mantra against you and you like the ability, hey, there's nothing stopping you from copying their spells. Number 6. Adventures of Horry High. Remember high school? How you'd live on campus in their dorms, fight crazy teachers, fly to the school, and get pushed out of the airplane when you're late? Good times, but yeah, I don't remember high school being anything like that either, but whatever. This is a JRPG, that's just kind of how things roll. The one thing that I do remember about high school was joining clubs after school though. Personally, I was a member of the chess club, choir, weightlifting, and beta clubs. Yeah, I had a pretty full plate, but so did the kids here because clubs in Horry High are essentially job classes and how you learn your skills. This game doesn't take itself seriously at all. You join a school newspaper and as such become an amateur reporter, investigating all the strange goings-on at the school, and while this overarching story isn't the best, the NPCs and their dialogue are a joy to behold. The game's divided up into 12 chapters, one for each month of the year, and culminates with your graduation. Fans of Trails of Cold Steel would do well to check out this gem. Number 5. Treasure Hunter G. Here we have a nice mixing of genres. The game plays like a traditional RPG with towns and a world map to explore. There are also dungeons filled with enemies and on-screen encounters, similar to Chrono Trigger, but when you initiate combat, the genre suddenly flips into a strategy RPG, even though you're kinda stuck with a traditional 4-person party. Red, your basic tanky hero who sticks to close-range attacks with swords. Blue, his brother who wields a long-range spear and can teleport your allies around the battlefield. Those names sound strangely familiar. Yeah, remember this game? Anyway, we also have Rain, the girl clad in pink, so of course she's your white mage by default, and finally Pongo, her monkey friend who wields black magic and plays a mean violin. The story's nothing to write home about, it's your basic save the world and find your missing father, but hey, look at those graphics. Yeah, they're superb for the SNES. Number 4. God. Growth or Devolution, Heed the Call to Awaken. Whew, that's a mouthful. This game starts off innocuously enough as you go on a trip to your grandmother's house only to get there and witness an alien attack. Suddenly you're thrust into a struggle against alien invaders, body snatchers, and oddly enough, incompetent bats. The game does have its heavy moments such as premarital sex, pregnancy, and death, but it has plenty of humor too. The game takes place on modern-day Earth, and you'll first be crossing all of Japan until the rest of the world opens up. Then you're going to find yourselves in Beijing, Washington DC, LA, New York, and London, just to name a few. Crossing the post-apocalyptic landscape of the destroyed Earth and seeing how humanity copes to rebel against their new overlords is a one-of-a-kind experience. Also, this game was so well received in Japan that it received a remake on the PlayStation, though neither of them released in the West. Number 3. Legend of the River King. Not every game has to be some grandiose save-the-world adventure. Sometimes it's nice to relax with a quiet, peaceful little story. Hot off the heels of the success of the Harvest Moon series for the SNES, Natsume decided to try their hand at a fishing simulator, and unlike the first Harvest Moon, they actually added RPG elements such as HP, exploration, experience, and a battle system to make sure that you don't fall asleep while playing. The game takes place in 4 main villages along the same river, and in order to move along with the plot and make it to the next village, you have to catch certain fish for the villagers or do trading quests or maybe even fight wild animals. The fishing works very similarly to modern fishing minigames today, where you have to use certain rods and baits to capture specific types of fish, and you have to wait until the fish is tired out to try and capture it. The game isn't for everyone, but for those who just love fishing minigames and want an entire world wrapped around the concept, this is an absolute gem. Number 2. Parasite Eve. After putting out some masterpiece titles in 1997 like Final Fantasy VII and, Tactics, Square decided to release an oddball, Parasite Eve, based upon a Japanese novel of the same name. Forget the party system, turn-based battles, fantasy settings, and optimistic heroes here. Instead, you're thrust into the part of Aya Brea, a police officer in New York City who spends 6 days tracking down Eve, a woman hell-bent on obtaining the ultimate mitochondrial DNA to become a perfect being. There's also spontaneous human combustion thrown in for good measure because, why not? The plot is odd to say the least, but fits well with the survival horror theme that they have going on. Battles take place in real time and play kind of like Secret of Mana with an active time bar that needs to fill up before Aya can shoot her gun. The nicest thing about Parasite Eve is that, unlike most epics from Square, the game doesn't wear out its welcome and you can complete it in probably 15 hours, though if you're craving more action, there's a New Game Plus featuring one of the most horrific bonus dungeons ever devised. And number 1, Legend of Legaia. While it tells a pretty standard story of mist engulfing the world and people walling themselves off in cloistered cities to avoid it and the coming monsters, the gameplay sets Legaia apart from everything else released at the time. While in combat, you don't just select the attack command. Your heroes are able to input special moves or arts, just as you would perform a special move in Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. As you level up, you're able to input longer combinations to inflict devastating attacks. When fighting flying enemies, you're going to want to use high attacks, and conversely low attacks for those ground-dwelling monsters. The system keeps you on your toes and it doesn't get stale. However, this isn't the only unique aspect of the combat system. Over the course of the game, you'll encounter magical Sero, whom you can absorb and learn their magic. With their system, all magic essentially becomes blue magic. To add to the fighting game feeling, every time that you equipped a new weapon or armor, they actually appear on your character model. No games did that back then. I wish this game started a series. I mean, it did get a sequel, but man, that didn't capture the magic that the original had. Well, that's it for the top 10 strangest RPGs from 1996 to 1998. This will be followed by subsequent years, so I'd love to know what you think were the strangest RPGs that you've ever played. Let me know in the comments, and if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a good day.